Everyone has a story, but not every story was told. Here in the Untold, we give the chance to meet a variety of individuals, learn from their stories, their talents, and also get to know them in person. How you doing today, Abdullah?
I am doing good. Thank you for that introduction. I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited for today. Because we have a great guest today.
Definitely.
We have Farah AlKhawajah. She is an award-winning teacher.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, and I'm very, very excited to meet her and interview her, basically just to ask her about her journey.
Yes, and her journey is so amazing that she's been to different countries around the world. Also, like sharing their teaching experience in different areas.
Yeah, she's been all over the world. Like you said, she's been in Zanzibar, Thailand, Indonesia, teaching kids all over.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're gonna be having her here, but right after this short break.
Definitely. So stay tuned. And we are back, our dear viewers, with an amazing, inspirational teacher, Farah AlKhawajah. How you doing, Farah?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. MashaAllah, you always seem like an extraordinary teacher for English.
Thank you.
You've been
so
to the
much.
globe, you've been to different areas, different experiences.
Yes.
She
I would
has
like-
a great career.
Yes, MashaAllah.
Thank
I would
you.
like to start with you, like in the beginning, okay? Like, who's Farah? Why is she dedicated, like, to be a teacher?
In the beginning, in family gathering where there is like one person that if the kids are missing, go play with them, do some activities. So since the beginning,
Okay.
as the age of like 10 or 9, I was that person in the gathering.
You've always liked children.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was kind of in the beginning forced on me, like you're the biggest grandchild, so take the kids, play with them, and it grew on me. I loved them. I loved to do the activities and so on, and I took it as a career in the end.
It's like the reverse Stockholm
Yes.
syndrome. Yeah, with the children.
Yeah, I started at first, playing in the living room with the kids and so on, and then I took it as a career. I went to University of Kuwait and studied elementary English, and I've been a teacher since then.
Some people, like, when they go to university, they kind of like change majors, they discover something new.
Yes.
But for you, it was kind of the opposite.
Yeah, it
You really
was-
loved it.
I loved it. I wanted to be a KG teacher at first,
Okay.
but there was no English KG teachers as
Like major.
yeah, as a major. So I've chosen elementary, but thankfully after 19 years I've now transferred to another school where I'm going to be a KG2 teacher.
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful. Very, very
Dream
nice.
come true after 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah.
At least it comes true.
Yeah.
That's what matters, yes.
But you also have a lot of volunteering work as well,
Yes.
right? Would you like to share that with us?
I do volunteer first in Kuwait.
Yeah.
I teach with a non-profit organization where I teach kids with cancer in hospitals. We go and teach them there, and then I loved the experience. I loved that giving is something. They always say giving is something very inspiring.
Yes.
So I started going outside of Kuwait. I've been to Indonesia, Zanzibar, and last year I was in Thailand.
Yeah,
Mashallah.
I think the reason why I brought this up is because we were reading the profile about you, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of movement there.
Yes.
So we want to go through them like individually.
Sure.
The first one was Indonesia.
Yes.
So how is that? How did that come along?
I've been with a group of martyr kids since we lost my dad in a terrorist attack in 2015. So I was one of the martyr kids that went on a trip to represent Kuwait to Indonesia, and there was like this village that you go and supply food and money and so on.
Yeah.
I loved the experience, seeing kids, and I entered one of the classrooms and I saw them, learning. It was amazing, how do they take their books with no shoes, walking on water. It was raining and still they were happy
Yeah.
to study. So that was a nice experience for me. And I wanted, to continue. And that's why I went on
And
to
how-
other countries.
And how were your emotions? Because that was the first time you volunteered, right?
Yes.
How was that first kind of footstep in Indonesia?
It was scary because I've never been there. I wanted to do everything. And then again, it was emotional because most of the kids there were orphans. So but again, they were happy, and sometimes when you lose something, and I went there after losing my father, and they inspired me. Like, I'm, whining and complaining and crying, and yet they're kids, and they lost their parents, both of them, and they're still having fun and, studying and learning and so on. So
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And did that kind of like reflect on your personality?
yes, it did a lot. I've changed so much. Every
way?
trip it changes me in a way. Like in Zanzibar, they're happy people. They're all about spreading positivity. Exactly. And there was one trip where we went on a boat to visit. I think a Turtle Island or something.
Island, yes.
Yes, and the boat almost, we almost drowned, and we were scared and we were screaming, and the people there from Zanzibar, it's like, Teacher Farah, Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, no problem.
We're gonna die. And it's like, no, don't worry, Hakuna
So
Matata.
they actually say that there?
Yeah, they do.
Because I thought that was made up for the
I thought that too.
the Timon and Pumbaa song.
Exactly. But no, they're happy people. They spread positivity. They're always about,
Simplicity.
and I wanted to be that, and we're trying, but it's hard, to be always on the bright side of
Yes.
the
Like positive all the time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy and effort.
Exactly.
But I think that's a good thing to have and experience because it makes you appreciate the things that you have,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It makes you look, whether it's raining, you look for the bright side of the life.
And I think that's what a lot of kids nowadays don't really understand, especially those who live a lot of comfortable lives. Is
Or
that,
luxury life. They have like their classroom, they have their teachers there already, the roads are clean, and they can get like to any classroom without any effort or struggle. And yet they still think it's they
They're
find it.
complaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
like my younger cousins' most worries is that they don't have a lot of money on their Fortnite account. I'm like, you got to see the world to
Exactly.
understand that, that's not what all that matters.
Yeah.
And let's go back to Zanzibar. Was the second trip.
Yes, the second.
And the third trip last
was
year is
Thailand,
Thailand.
yes.
And how was that?
Thailand was a trip that was more emotional because they were kids that were refugees from other countries and they don't have any place to go. So they went to Thailand and they stayed there. So it was a struggle for us because these children, they went out of their country, lived in another country, yet they don't have the privilege of getting any education or medical support. So this school was like, gathering these kind of refugees in that school. The struggle was because most of the kids there were abused. Physically, emotionally. So when we saw them and we sat before we entered the school, we were given, specific instructions like, don't hug them.
Like they're telling you how to deal with them?
Yes, like don't hug them if they don't want to. Physical contact is a no-no unless they come to you. Certain topics even are not, we don't talk about them unless they talk about it with you. So in Thailand, it was more emotional for us as teachers there.
And I think that also like reflect on like the teaching approach that you may be taking in
Yes,
that classroom.
yeah. The classroom was, maybe smaller than the studio, and
They don't
there
have, like,
was
all the
30
tools.
to 25 students. One AC. There was a minimum to no technology.
Oh, so it's really
So-
a rough environment.
Yes, it was.
And how did that influence your teaching habits here, in Kuwait?
I'm kind of, I'm a mother and I'm also a teacher. So I'm kind of the mother that when she comes home and, my kid would say, I don't want to eat this. You don't know that in other countries, they don't have any food to eat. So I'm that kind of mother and teacher that would, reinforce the things that I saw there. But it's, I love to talk about my experience in volunteering, even with the kids. Like when I come back, I do like a short video where I tell them that, look, and they're, they're amazed how kids don't know about iPads, how they live without ACs. Like in Zanzibar, the classroom was on with windows only. We
That's it.
didn't have any ACs.
Nothing else.
No, and no chairs and tables. We taught on the floor. Like there's one picture of me, I'm teaching, and there's a bus behind me because there was no electricity in the classroom. So we had to teach outside beside a bus on a carpet.
Wow.
So I love to show the kids
And
that
they would still be happy, right? They would still be
they're
singing
so
and everything.
happy.
Yeah.
They're so happy, so full of life.
Yeah.
And you know, when the kids here,
Kids in the modern world, when they don't have Wi-Fi, they throw a temper tantrum, right?
Yes, you're right.
So they got to see the other side of the world. Yeah.
But you know, it's something that changes your perspective in life, and
Yeah.
you know, want to
And
share it
definitely,
with
like
others.
after all these experiences, I'm pretty sure like there were some award programs or something like you were able to receive.
Yes, I did during COVID.
Okay.
I applied for a virtual teacher award in the University of Kuwait, and I won, alhamdulillah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And then there was award that focused on volunteers and teaching and, you know, giving back. Alhamdulillah, also I won 3rd place. So, you know, I apply and, you know, hopefully, you know, hope for the best.
That's really amazing.
Yeah. And speaking about, you know, I want to go back to, because I think that was really interesting to know about the children with trauma.
Yes.
Can you remember like a single moment or a student who like showed a lot of, you know, courage, a lot of resilience, a lot of, you know, those kind of influencing moments?
There was 2 girls. They were in high school, and I remember when I don't forget them because when I entered, I always have these characters on me, like a puppet on my shoulder, or you know, on
I saw that
on my
on the
T-shirt.
imagination station.
Yeah, and you know, these kind of things make me connect with the kids. So. One of them told me that she likes Princess Cinderella, and the other one she said she likes Snow White. So during all of my volunteer, I used to call them that.
Oh.
And you know, when in the end when she came, she said no one ever told me that I was pretty like Cinderella or I was, you know, graceful like Snow White, because we always like, you know, wake up, work, come to school, and then go back. And she doesn't, you know, have that positive energy with anyone else. So
And how old were those?
in high school, I think like around 15, 16.
I mean, that's kind of, you know, heartbreaking to
Exactly,
know. She has
like-
been all those years without anyone telling them any good words.
And especially with girls, like we like compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, living for 16 and 15 years without anyone telling you how beautiful you are is, you know, heartbreaking. So,
Yeah, very hard, I can imagine. And sometimes like maybe if you will go like to the same experience again,
Yes.
what one thing you will whisper to yourself, like younger yourself?
maybe keep on going, you know, believe in your choices. Because, you know, sometimes when you choose something and you get like, did I do it right? Is it, you know?
Did that like happen to that volunteering experience before you go?
Yes, yeah.
You were kind of
because-
hesitant?
In Zanzibar, because the trip was horrible. The plane shut down in the middle of the air. So
Middle of the air.
yeah, so we
Oh my
had
God.
to do an emergency landing in Kenya, and we stayed there for like 10 years. 10, hopefully not 10
Not
years.
10 years, yeah. That's going to be a
10
long time.
hours, exactly.
Yeah,
10 hours, hopefully. And I was like, in these 10 hours, you know, did I do the right thing? Because, you know, 10 hours in Kenya and, you know, you have to stay in the airplane. So, you know, I would tell myself, you know, believe, you know,
Yeah.
if it's a struggle, it
It's
will
gonna
pass
rain, huh?
away. Exactly, yeah.
And I think it's in those kind of moments where you really test yourself. You know, you really test the kind of, as we say, your ma'dan, your
Yes,
metal,
yes.
and what you're made of.
Yeah.
And hopefully you've made the right decisions.
Alhamdulillah.
And we're going to take a short break,
Okay.
and we're going to be right back with you to continue along all of your adventures. And we'll be right after this one.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. We're still in the journey of teaching around the globe with Farah AlKhawajah. Hello, Farah.
Hello.
Farah, after being to all these countries and seeing all these different kids, different experiences,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you found like maybe a universal language. Something common between them, maybe?
You know, most of them we go because I'm an English teacher. We usually talk in English. So I've seen that English was the easiest language. It would be cliche, but you know, love is the universal language.
Or
You
sign
know,
language.
exactly.
Yeah. Or as I'd like to call it, you know, whatever language.
Whatever.
Language.
You know, because
Yeah.
when they see you smile and they see you, you know, loving what you're doing,
Yeah.
they understand whatever language you're talking
Yeah.
to. So
You know, this reminds me of a very funny anecdote. My uncle, he didn't know any word of English, but he
Any-
spoke very broken English.
okay.
And whenever we traveled, I would speak with them in English. They don't know anything. But when he speaks with them, they know exactly what he means.
Mashallah.
And I was like, you know, broken English is the
It's
language
the
of the world.
Exactly.
It's not English, it's the broken English. Yeah.
You're right.
And so speaking of your experience in Zanzibar, you said that you had translator. And how would the teaching process go? Like, would you write on the board and then the translator comes along? What kind of, you know?
No, she'll be like, I'll talk and she'll talk. So, you know, it's kind of difficult, but during the process, mashallah, kids will understand. So I would talk
Yeah.
in English and then she would like wait for me and then talk. Or while I'm talking, she'll be talking.
Yeah, and I think kids find it the most amusing is that having strangers there, not
Yes.
exactly for the teaching thing, but for the fun. I think after class is where, the actual teaching would happen.
Yeah, and usually because we're like using all of the technologies and all of the teaching experience that we use it in our country,
Yeah.
so it's something new for them. Like in Zanzibar, they've never seen an iPad, or if they've seen it, they never have used it. So they used a lot of that. In Thailand, I used a lot of puppets and, you know, games, and they loved that. Storytelling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Indonesia, it's all about, you know, big books and, you know, big pictures. So in each country, I go and, you know, search about what do they have, even like what is good for them as a, you know, a culture,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
what to avoid is something very important.
That's very insightful. And when you went back like to Kuwait, did that also like reflect on your teaching experience with the students
Yes.
around here?
Yeah.
Like was it like a mix or?
You know, when I come back to Kuwait, I always, you know, feel the privilege that we are in, you know.
Yeah.
We're very comfortable in school.
That's what I was going to say when you talked about them not knowing iPad. Is
Yeah.
because, alhamdulillah, we have a lot of luxuries here. So
Yeah, very blessed.
we don't know how much people around us don't really have so many things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, when I tell the kids, like, this is the first time they see an iPad, it's like, teacher, how did they live? It's like, no,
Yeah.
people live without technology. Don't worry. It's like, you know, we're here. And, you know, it's something that we can't remove. Like, this is their age.
It's
this
part
is
of the
exactly.
society now.
So we just have to, you know, teach the kids that we have minimum time using the technology, using it for something good,
Yeah.
rather, you know, just, you know,
Wasting time.
exactly.
You should have showed them that,
The pictures of.
Lady Shark, whatever the song for the kids. They would have hated the iPad immediately. They're going to be like,
Well,
okay.
they still do love it, so it's kind of
Yeah.
we hate it. They
We
love
hate it. They love it. Yeah. I think that's the duality of new technology.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember when I was a teacher in high school, okay? Sometimes after you finish the school, you kind of like take the hat of teaching and leave it there in school. You don't want to deal with it back
Yes.
outside the classroom.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes like the teaching inside of you comes and you want to take any moments into like a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you?
You know, I'm always a teacher. You know, when
Inside, outside the classroom.
Exactly. I'm always the teacher. Even like when they, you know, ask me to change my voice into, you know, something that's other than being a teacher, I can't. It's
Yeah.
like I've been 18 years teaching. I'm
part of
always,
who you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you can't remove Farah from teacher. So, you know, either accept that or you can, you know, change whatever you want. So even like when I'm sitting here, like, you know, I would see things and I was like, oh, that's good for teaching as a material, or, you know,
Yeah.
or you say something as an idea. I was like,
Take
I'm
that
going to
as
use
story.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've, you know, lived my whole
And I think you
career.
share that with so many of my friends who are teachers, and I would say that they teach with dhamir,
Yes.
because every time we're sitting in Duaniya or playing one of those, trivia games, they immediately bring out their notebooks like, okay, I got to make this for the students.
Yes.
I'm like, do you really? And then, it's so, so enjoyable to watch.
And that's because, you know, for me, I always, you know, tell to new recruits that you have to enter the field with love.
Yeah.
You have to love it.
Especially you as a teacher.
Yeah.
Because, for me personally, so much of my, profession and so much of my career was all influenced by so many great teachers.
Exactly.
And they had so many great moments. Like you
Yes.
teachers do have a great position in terms of deciding what kind of
And
student
impact
goes.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when the environment is like the opposite,
Yes.
you still have that really great like impact on students. I remember when I was a teacher taken by your advice. If I didn't love the profession, it will be very difficult for me like to still own
Yes.
it.
And sometimes when I advise them, even like when I go to colleges or universities and the new recruits, I'll just be honest with them. Like, if you love it, stay. If you don't and you're forced, because some of them are forced into the
Yeah.
career, it's like, you can do another thing under the umbrella of the school.
Yeah.
Just don't,
Teach.
exactly.
Don't
Because
be
it's really a hard career. Some people who are not the teachers, they don't understand how tough it is.
Yes.
Especially like dealing with kids, different characters, different personalities, like grading and all that. Like it takes a lot of effort.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially the human toll that it takes. Like I said, teachers have great responsibility of shaping students.
Yeah.
So if you have one of those teachers who just, all right,
Forced.
open page 4, let's
Yeah.
go. That's, it's not as influential.
No.
Yeah. And I want to go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember like the most influential teachers that ever taught me are the ones who share some personal anecdote
Yes.
or personal stories or wisdom, because every teacher is kind of the same, like they doing like the same subject.
Yes.
But if you have something personal,
They
a personal
love,
touch
yeah.
that you add,
Even like if you can see, like you've taught bigger kids with KG and elementary, they would love to listen to stories that you did something wrong,
Yeah.
just like them. That would make their days. Like, teacher, did you really do that? Like, yes, I did.
make them feel equal to you.
Yes, yeah.
And it's funny how so many things that teachers do, even though they look insignificant, have a lot of influences. So, like, for example, when I was is it elementary school? Tidai?
Yes.
Yeah, so when I was in like the second or third grade of elementary school, we had a teacher who would say, if you talk without, being permission to, he would do the Undertaker move, this one.
No.
And I swear, wallah. And then, but honestly, the lesson that he gave us from that time is that now I know to shut up and basically wait for your time to speak.
In this age and generation,
Yeah.
if he does that to our kids now,
He'll be in
Immediately
prison
checkpoint.
next-
exactly,
Yeah.
they won't allow it.
But that's why I'm a fan of the old school teaching of methods.
Some,
Actually, one
some
of my-
really love the old methods.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with kids nowadays, you can't apply it.
It's
Yeah.
different, different
it's
age,
difficult.
different perceptions.
Yes, and
A
you
colleague
can't.
of mine, like he has like very high voice,
Exactly.
So in my like that head department, he told me like to go at the first time to visit each teacher to learn and to see, observe.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, his voice so high that the students, even the one who want to sleep, he cannot sleep.
You can't, yeah, which is a good thing.
Like he's on helium all the time. Yeah. Would you say that's the hardest thing about teaching in today's world, dealing with the outside factors like parents and stuff, where you have your own limitations to teaching?
Yes, even like I always tell them in the past, us as I don't know if you're the same age as I am, with the 80s.
Close enough.
Yeah. So we were the kind of kids that went to school and their parents were, just asking, did you do the homework or not?
Yeah.
If the teacher, gave us a bad mark or, even screamed at us, we would go to our parents. It's like, a kid, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like we're always the blamed one. But now it's a completely
It's all the teachers' fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always the teacher's fault.
And the students are very spoiled.
They are, but this is their life and their generation. Like, I can't bring, pens and pencils and, the long ruler, the wooden one, into the classroom because I think it was good for me. This generation is all about, they're smart. They're super smart.
But speaking about that, and this also goes to the same teacher, and I'm not making that up. The threat of having it, because he would open a briefcase and he would have 2 wooden sticks that are wrapped with red ribbons.
One thick, one thin.
Yeah, but he'd never hit any
Just, leave them.
any student. But just the threat of watching it, you were just immediately scared.
Yeah, and with these kind of generation that now their parenting are all about discussion. They're all about express yourself, express your opinion.
I can, because I hear from my younger cousins whenever playing with each other, one of them just goes, "Hey, you're bullying me now." I'm like, "What? You know what bullying is now?"
They do.
Yeah.
And they're very smart and they're very talented and they're very exposed. So you can't force what we learned and what we think was right on today's generation.
Because it's a different world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as teachers, we need to, mold ourselves and, shape ourselves again to each generation that comes along.
And you briefly mentioned you've applied for the awards during COVID, and I want to mention that period of time. How has teaching in general changed from before and after COVID? Because I know a lot of my friends complain about it.
Yes, before COVID, we didn't use that much of a technology. Like we used it like in the classroom for a minimum, time. But after COVID, technology came, hard on the kids, that they're using tablets and they're using all the technology all of the time. But for me, it's opened new doors. Like, I don't know if you saw one of my classes, I've taught kids about like and dislike using a real Python. So,
is that the computer coding thing?
No, it's a real Python. I sat in front of a camera.
The snake, you mean?
Snake.
Yes, the snake.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The
That's
snake, the
creative.
That's
Python.
way cooler than internet coding.
Yeah. So I sat in front of a camera and I shot myself with a python, and then there's a small like crocodile. So for me, COVID was a blessing because I got to do things that wasn't allowed in school. And that's why when I applied to the award, I won, because I used, things outside of the box, and I did my own YouTube channel there.
And how did you know about the award itself?
Usually, the teaching society would post and say that they've been doing it from COVID, and every year teachers would apply and they would choose 3 awards for the best, classroom or the teacher. Yes.
And in terms of students, because I know, again, because I only know 2 friends who are teachers, so I always hear them nagging and complaining about students after COVID.
Yes.
That the dealing with them has become so hard.
It is.
They lack focus, they lack attention, they don't do their homework as well. Is that, universal? Have you experienced
Yes,
something?
and usually when we used to hear kids with ADHD, it was something, like, wow, we have a kid with ADHD. Let's, now most of them have ADHD, and it's not like something. It's a common thing now because they're exposed more to technology. They sit long times, because with ADHD kids, it's like when you sit in front of a camera or a screen, it's like a rubber and you're pressing it down. And when you remove the technology, it's like a spring that goes everywhere.
Yeah, and I think I read an article that says people in general have low attention span right now because you're constantly on social media going through posts that are 2 or 3 seconds.
Yes.
And kids have it way worse.
When it comes to reels nowadays, like it only takes short period, like a minute and 30, which means if you're gonna give like a teaching classroom that goes around like 45 minutes, it's gonna be really long for them.
Yeah.
So how you kind of like deal with this kind of challenge?
For me with kids, we usually do a 10-2, which is teach the lesson for 10 to 15 minutes and then have a 2 minutes break. And then we'll do again 10 to 15 minutes and then have a 2 break. This is breaking down the classroom in a way that won't let them sit for 45 minutes, just listening to
and
me.
lose interest.
Yes, and lose interest.
Basically sequence it.
Yes, exactly.
Because I do remember one of my university professors used to say that students you have them for 20 minutes.
Yes.
After the 20 minutes, you've lost them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell teachers, like, don't give a classroom and say, I'm teaching for 1 hour. They won't listen for 1 hour. You're like
we're on
20 minutes.
autopilot for an hour.
Yes.
We're only there. We're only driving the instrument for
Exactly.
like 2 minutes.
So for those who are watching us and they are teaching or like in the teaching career, Farah just shared like a really exciting advice.
Thank you.
Which is like 10-2?
Yes, 10-2.
10-2.
Yeah.
10
teaching, 2 minutes break.
There you have it.
And I think that's a great way to end this episode because unfortunately we've run out of time. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for enlightening us. Your journey is amazing.
Thank you so much.
I implore our audiences to go to your socials and just look at the journey that you've had.
Thank you so
And
much.
get
Thank you.
inspired by Farah AlKhawajah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And we're gonna go to a quick break and then we're gonna be back. Stay tuned.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. That was our episode of The Untold today, where we had Farah AlKhawajah. She had, like we said, she had an amazing story, unbelievable journey from,
Yes.
its infancy all the way to its later stages.
Inspirational teacher who've been to different countries, sharing different teaching experiences, and also like different approaches to teach English around the globe.
Yeah. And, for our audiences who enjoyed her career, she also, kind of shows up in our programs, because she hosts her own TV program
Yes,
as well. So-
Imagination Station. If
Yeah.
you're interesting.
yeah. And so with that, unfortunately, we've reached the end of our episode for today. And that's it.
All right, guys, see you later.